Hello, Dota 2 fans, and welcome to another edition of jDL Season 4. This is the Europe Division 1 and 2 playoffs. We have Balkan Bears Corleone versus Denial Esports. So the French is going to be taking on Weehaw and his squad of mix-ups. And we do have myself, More Rage Please Dota, here with Mike Loris. We are HeflaTV, your English coverage. Mike, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Well, I just saw Denial Esports play yesterday, and they weren't looking too great. They are running with 2 stand-ins, and no guarantees as to the quality of those stand-ins. Patrice used to be an older player, I think. Haven't seen him around in quite a long time.
Yeah.
But it is going to be fairly even, I would assume. On a regular day where Denial maybe aren't on tilt, I would say maybe they have a slight edge, but BBC, they're capable of taking games off the top, so who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah, certainly so. Odds over on Dota2BestYOLO.com, 56% in favor of BBC, so slight favorite towards Weehaw and his crew. Something to note for sure, Levi not present. Yapzor looks to be standing in for him. And unfortunately, Levi plays a lot of Disruptor, and he got a nice buff in the last patch. So we'll see if they continue to go for that hero, which they do favor quite a bit in a lot of their drafts without Levi. But either way, jumping into the draft, IO going to be the first ban. Coming up from BBC, they're going to ban out the Vino as well. I believe Seb just played that in a pub, so they didn't want to see that here. Ebolamancer removed. Brewmaster Ogre banned out from Denial. So Seb and squad just going to take out 2 very strong first ban, first pick worthy heroes here. And BBC going to round out this first phase with the first pick.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of respect BBC are paying towards Denial, Venomancer, as well as that IO are very Denial-esque heroes. They pick them up pretty much as often as they possibly can. That along with the Beastmaster, but Beastmaster is a lot easier to deal with and is probably a funsy hero, so I don't know if Denial are going to be picking that up in this particular game. For BBC, they open up with Legion Commander. The off-lane Legion Commander, sometimes dual lane for BBC, plays very aggressively and sometimes works, sometimes falls flat, but it really just depends on is the aggression punished or not, and that'll of course depend on how defensive the Denial supports are up towards top.
Yeah, certainly so. And LC, as you mentioned, definitely a feast or famine hero. I'm not sure if I see Padrino run this all that often. I don't believe it's him. It's generally Hockey, I want to say, in the offlane on that LC. Padrino sometimes does play the solo safe role, often with the Broodmother and heroes of that nature. So it'll be interesting to see where BBC ends up putting this. Of course, Weehaw could take it towards the mid if he so pleases, but I feel like he's on a little bit more playmaking heroes. But you can definitely classify LC as a space maker with an early blink, and the mechanic of that is dual. But Denial's going to pick up a Shadow Demon here, so very uncommon pick as of late, somewhat of a defensive support. And they'll couple it with the PA here. And as I mentioned, there's Padrino going for that Broodmother early and often. And he's super effective with this. I've seen him absolutely wreck the Dire offlane, or the Radiant offlane, I should say, in this case.
All right, so we got 2 very BBC heroes in Legion Commander Broodmother. Both can play this fairly aggressively, and well, no surprises there. Axe going to be kicked out to protect the Broodmother's space. Phantom Assassin, Shadow Demon are not the most common of openings for any particular game. Shadow Demon especially is going to somewhat restrict Denial's picks moving forward, but it is just a fantastic tool versus the Legion Commander. So in that regard, I think a fair pick for Denial, but they're going to need some AoE or some sort of tool to deal with this Broodmother. Phantom Assassin, maybe with a Battle Fury, can do it later on, but by that time, Broodmother is probably, either not a problem anymore because you've already dealt with it,
right,
or just wrecking your entire team. Either way, they need a little bit more. They need initiation right now. Batrider, Storm Spirit would be good, although I guess not Storm Spirit anymore.
Yeah, Storm Spirit banned out there. I mean, I guess they were expecting the Brood here, seeing as how they didn't ban it out first phase, and maybe they felt Shadow Poison was a decent way to deal with the Broodlings. But either way, I'm going to have to agree with you. I don't know that it's worth picking up in the first phase. Is good versus the LC duel, but I felt like they could have let it trickle downwards in the draft and pick it up a little bit later on, but prioritizing that pick nonetheless. We are going to see the Axe and Omni ban, so for obvious reasons, Omni works extremely well with the PA, making her pretty much invulnerable with that repel as well as the GA when needed. She's already very resistant to physical damage with the blur. So interesting ban there from BBC, definitely a wise one, I would assume. And Jakiro going to be banned here by Denial, so they're not going to be able to pick that up, at least in a support role. Doubt it would be in a core role at this point with the LC Brood opening.
Yeah, would have been more likely if to be a Jakiro support, but it's not going to be in this game either way. For Denial, as we said, AoE is going to be important for them. They already have okay defensive capabilities versus what the BBC side has. Blur and Disruption from the Shadow Demon is going to make things very inconvenient for BBC until like more stuns come out on their side. And right now, both teams are extremely stun light, so crowd control effects going to be put at a premium. They could very easily just go for a Vengeful Spirit either side, but Venge and Shadow Demon, not really the support combo that you want to be running. It's fine, but it is not exactly ideal.
Yeah, certainly. So it has decent roam potential, obviously great defensive potential with the disruption and the swap, but probably not exactly what you're going to go for being defensive up against a Brood who really looks to take over that early to mid game phase, and you are going to be hard pressed to commit something to her lane. And the Anchor Smash certainly something that offers quite a bit against the Broodlings. So Tidehunter, a strong offlaner. You definitely don't see him fall to the third phase of the ban. With two teams like this who really do have heroes that they play perennially, you will kind of see some of these better heroes slip through just by virtue of the respect bans, as you mentioned. So Tidehunter, decent to deal with the Broodmother of Padrino, but if he micros well, he really shouldn't get those Broodlings caught in too many Anchor Smashes anyways, but Tide should be okay in lane if he's 1v1 against that Brood. And we will see BBC pick up the Skywrath here. So as I mentioned, a lot of strong heroes getting through to the later phases in the draft by virtue of these teams having heroes that they play super often.
Yes, and Tidehunter, good against Broodmother, as you said, and it is generally an issue, actually, Broodmothers that just tend to feed away too many of their Spiderlings. It is pretty easy to work around the Tidehunter, so, assuming Padrino is going to play well, then he should be able to do just fine. Ancient Apparition, that is not exactly the stun that Denial really wanted. Still, they're going to be very stun light, though they do have set up for the Cold Feet and the Shadow Demon. It is going to indicate, as it already has, that they're going to be playing this rather aggressively. So Denial, with a pretty deadly tri-lane, if it does come to be Ancient Apparition, Shadow Demon, just as a dual roamer combo, is also pretty darn good. If Denial want to put their Phantom Assassin in the mid lane, that could also work out pretty well for them. So it's a decent enough pickup for BBC. They got the Skywrath Mage Silence to deal with the Tidehunter, though they still would like some stuns, as you need generally one or two to deal with the Phantom Assassin convincingly. And, of course, if you are going to be trying to duel people, you need to stun out the Shadow Demon so that he doesn't mess with that duel.
Yeah, and I feel like this certainly allows the LC to be put in the off lane because she doesn't really have to be worried about disables. She'll be able to use that overwhelming odds to escape more often than not. Chilling Touch plus Phantom Strike, pretty damn good mechanic there in the tri-lane, as you mentioned. But we will see the Weehaw Meepo here. So letting that one slip through, perhaps we will see Denial regretting this one. They do have the PA to deal fairly well. The Tidehunter Ravage isn't bad either. But Weehaw's just a monster on this hero, and definitely something Denial needs to be concerned about and draft for.
All right, so right now Denial have three heroes that are okay versus Meepo, nothing fantastic. PA is decent. Tidehunter Anchor Smash is probably the best tool. It's still vulnerable to poof, but you're going to be vulnerable to poofs no matter what. Shadow Demon is absolutely garbage versus Meepo. It just doesn't work out. Ancient Apparition is decent if you could get a nice Ice Blast, but we got to remember that this is Wii's Meepo. He's like a cyborg. He's inhuman. He's some sort of, I don't know, creation from the future or something designed solely for the purposes of playing Meepo and destroying noobs. So Meepo is going to be the pick from BBC. And right now, Denial, they just have to get some more single target. They are going to need one more core. Again, Initiation should be put at a premium for them. I don't know if they want to go for something like a Clockwork or anything like that, or just go for a Puck. That seems pretty safe as well. Yeah, it's a good hero versus Meepo. Yeah, there's a lot of burst, a lot of AoE, of course the Dream Coil as well. It's pretty damn good versus Meepo. Another strong hero that fell through pretty late here. But yeah, I definitely do worry for their ability still to deal with this Meepo. Probably the best one thus far. The Ice Blast isn't bad as well. You'll get the cleave from the PA when she gets that Battle Fury up. And of course the Anchor Smash, as you mentioned. But BBC have such great pick-off potential with the three thus far, aside from the Broodmother. And the Broodmother is just going to be able to push down and wreck lanes unless someone with
with some AoE, like the Tide, like the Puck, or the AA is always committed to that lane. And I guess Denial do have the support of the global Ice Blast, so they don't always have to be in lane. But if Padrino is very savvy of his timings and is able to dodge some of those Ice Blasts, he should be able to do a lot of structural damage regardless. And that's something I fear that Denial is going to have to be a little bit too committed to, and then maybe that'll leave some of their heroes elsewhere on the map susceptible to ganks.
Yeah, and Padrino, just what I've seen of his Broodmother is he's like, you're going to die a couple times. That's just the life of Broodmother. But what he does usually is just after taking the tower, he just webs up the entire enemy jungle and just farms that forever, like over the hills, so he can literally take every single camp. And then Denial are going to be on this wild goose chase trying to kill off the Broodmother, and they really don't have as much crowd control as they really would like in order to effectively deal with her. The disruption is going to be nice, but the Shadow Demon disruption is going to be nice, but that's probably not going to be enough. The last pick for BBC is going to be that Sand King, so nothing too spectacular in the last pick for BBC, but you know what, it's a stun. And we're talking about covering Meepo, Broodmother, and Legion Commander. Sand King is perfectly reasonable.
Yeah, Sand King, Skywrath, a little bit of a throwback support combo that we saw quite a bit before some of the nerfs. Sand King obviously able to retreat to the jungle and farm fairly well, and with the Broodmother to create space as well as the LC, he should be able to do that decently as long as they don't commit too much to Weehaw here, which generally you will see them do. But yeah, YapzOr should be able to find some farm and a little bit of initiation, although we will see Weehaw go for that Blink Dagger as well as Hockey here, so should be just fine in terms of initiation. And it does add a little bit of magic damage to their toolkit to deal with that PA before he gets a BKB up.
And as far as roaming early on for the Sand King, him and Skywrath Mage, they're not exactly the best roaming combination in the game, but they could certainly get the job done. Probably not on the Puck. It's going to take a little bit more than level 1, level 2 in order to make that happen, but certainly everyone else in Denial, especially these supports, maybe even the PA, assuming they can catch her at a good time, they are all vulnerable to just this combination. And it's not the highest magic damage, not the highest physical damage, but when you're ganking into a lane that has a Meepo, a Legion Commander, or a Broodmother, you're going to be A-okay. So both sides are going to be having okay roaming potential, but it then going to come down to how are these lanes going to shake down. And from what I've seen, I'm expecting Meepo to go towards the mid lane, probably going to be going up against Puck, but who knows, now running with some stand-ins, they could be shuffling their roles.
Definitely so, but we'll introduce the teams here. For the Dire side, we've got Balkan, Bears, Corleone, and Weehaw going towards the mid on his signature Meepo. We've got Hockey, as we mentioned, going towards the off lane on the Legion Commander. In the safe lane, we will see Solitude on the Skywrath, as well as YapzOr, the stand-in, on the Sand King, backing up the dirty brood picker, Padrino. And as you mentioned, he's very proficient on this one, so we'll see how he's able to wreck the lineup of Denial.
Well, on the Denial side, Cryo is going to be playing the Shadow Demon support, as is fucking mad on the Ancient Apparition. Matrice is going to be playing the Phantom Assassin again. I'm pretty sure I haven't seen him playing Dota for a very long time. Paris is going to be handling the mid lane Puck, and that leaves Innocent up towards the top lane as Tidehunter. And yesterday, they actually did run Innocent on, I believe they ran Innocent on Tidehunter, and it was pretty bad. Like, his Ravages sometimes landed on a lot of people, but there were those Ravages where you're like, okay, guys, I got 5 people, and then your team is like in their own base, and there's no follow-up whatsoever. So it's maybe not going to be the cleanest game for Denial. Hopefully that was just a one-time deal. I mean, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, there's some like offlaners, like namely one that comes to mind is Bone7. He's just a beast on so many of these skill heroes, but like he's just cursed with Tidehunter. Every time he plays Tide, it's just a poor game for C9. And some players, I don't know, it's just the mechanic of the Ravage and the timing. And they're so much better off initiating into the fight rather than having to counter-initiate. So we'll see if Innocent is able to feast on this one. It definitely is a strong offlaner regardless. And they do have a lot of follow-up here. But yeah, he's going to it's going to be banking on his positioning, certainly, with a lot of counter-initiation in the LC and the Sand King if Meeple's the first one in there for BBC. So he should be pretty hard-pressed to find a good Ravage, but if he does, there certainly is a lot to follow it up with the Ice Blast and the toolkit from the Puck.
If he gets initiated upon, like with just the melee-heavy lineup of BBC, then it's going to be pretty impossible for Innocent to have a bad Ravage. Like, there's going to be a blinking Meepo, there's going to eventually be a blinking Sand King, and then Legion Commander will also have a blink. So that's 3 Blink Daggers, heroes that want to get in, that probably would not want to get in versus a Tidehunter. So Innocent's gonna have a free roll for Ravage most of the time.
Yeah.
BBC, their lanes, though they are very melee heavy, shouldn't really be punished all that much. It's not going to be the strongest laning stage of them, but I mean, like Broodmother, though she's melee, it kind of functions as a range hero, and that you have the lane control of a range hero. Meepo mid is Wii, so he just doesn't count, and then there's that. And then, of course, the Legion Commander are going to have a little bit of a tough time, but I think she'll have a reasonable time, assuming she gets any sort of support at all from the support duo, and with Boots for a Sand King, that is definitely a realistic possibility.
Yeah, and Padrino's very comfortable in this lane with or without support, so he'll be just fine regardless. So we'll see if there's some potency. But in the river, already an Illusory Orb and 2 Chilling Touch attacks onto the Skywrath Mage. Solitude feeding over an easy first blood. Nice high ground positioning from almost the entire lineup of Denial, and they'll find a quick little gift for Christmas from Solitude. But either way, shouldn't hamper the lanes too much for BBC.
Well, that's the power of Chilling Touch. It's going to pretty much guarantee every single time you get into those level 1 engagements, you're going to be winning it. Like, pretty much no questions asked. There are very few things that can contest the Chilling Touch. Juggernaut, Blade Fury, maybe one of them, but clearly that's not going to be relevant. So it's a nice little start for the Puck, and he's going to be going for that Bottle Rush build. It's already a favored matchup for the Puck, but getting that additional gold means that there will be more orbs, there will be more reckless harassment from Paris, and Wii is going to be struggling. He always does do well, or do okay, just because he is so proficient at this hero. But at a certain point, there's not that much that you could do. Bottom lane, Hockey going to get into fist fight with Cryo. I think he's completely blocked there. 3 points around Cryo. He's doing quite a bit of damage to Hockey, and well, Legion Commander has a lot of tangos, but really don't want to use them off of just really good value usage of disruption for the Shadow Demon.
Yeah, a poor start to the lane for LC. Off of that first blood presence and just being in lane for a moment, Innocent's already found his level 2, so he has a level in Kraken Shell as well as the Anchor Smash. And Solitude's not going to be able to do an excellent job zoning him out with only the concussive shot at level 1 that he had to skill to try and get away from that first blood attempt. So the Tidehunter should be pretty good in this lane, and I certainly expected LC to do a little better earlier on. So this bodes well for Denial throughout the mid game.
Yeah, and top lane is doing just fine. Bottom lane is going to be roughed up a little bit, but you know what? Weeha's not getting punished too badly by this Puck so far, even though Bottle is already up. It's going to be relatively passive, I would expect. Innocent is in potentially a little bit of trouble, but really not that much. Broodmother can reinforce this very quickly, but Anchor Smash is pretty ridiculously awesome, and Innocent is taking pretty much no damage from Solitude, if not completely no damage, so no good luck doing anything with that. Hockey's actually in a really bad position right now. He's going to try to steal some creeps with overwhelming odds. Will fail at doing so. Now set up with the Disruption and the Chilling Touch. He is fast enough to run away from this. Again, lack of crowd control going to be the bane of Denial, but you know what? Legion Commander still is going to be forced to play very defensively off of these very cheap plays from Denial.
Yeah, the overwhelming odds will allow him to survive, but either way, he will be zoned out fairly often, as we've seen thus far. GG Rune picked up here by Paris at the top part of the river. Second Meepo is up now for Weeha. He's picked up his level 3 and should be okay in lane, but he will catch a little bit of orb harass, perhaps from this Puck with that full bottle.
And top lane, Tidehunter is going to start to feel the pressure as Broodmother now picks up her Soul Ring, so though you are very resistant to the Spiderlings, and you know the right-click harassment is going to be Anchor Smashable and reducible, the constant nuke damage is just a little bit too much to comfortably deal with. So Padrino is going to have a pretty nice lock on this lane, and you can see you already Tidehunter. He's going to stack the Ancients, so he's still being pretty productive, but bottom lane, Matrice is going to jump forward for Hockey. The Cold Feet is not going to lock him in, and Phantom Assassin probably taking more damage than she's dealing. Either way, Tidehunter is going to have to play a lot more careful in this top lane.
Yeah, mid lane, they've got 2 here. Cryo J with Paris. They've popped the GG Rune as well. Weeha gonna have to back off on his Meepo. Won't be killed off for the time being, but takes quite a bit of harass. Doesn't have any regen on him at the moment. And one of his Meepos in the jungle. Gonna TP back to base to heal up.
Alright, so Wii is going to be always falling behind Paris. That's to be expected in this type of matchup. Usually what you see of Wii is if he's in a less worse matchup, like if he's up against a Brewmaster or something, he'll just go straight for a level 3 kill.
Right.
Up against Paris, that is just not going to happen, and I don't think Denial are really going to give Wii any chances to get those kills. The only chance I see Wii actually getting any kills is if Funky Mad and Cryo actually try to gank him in the mid lane and end up going into the tower or something, and that's just not going to happen if they play it smart. it might happen. They might get a little bit too overconfident. Who knows? But the odds of this Meepo actually getting a lot done is very slim. Fortunately for him, he does have quite a few stacks in the jungle. Sand King's going to want to take those, but I don't really know if he's going to be taking all of them, as that is a lot of recovery / acceleration gold for the Meepo.
Yeah, definitely good efficiency from the side of BBC there, so they'll be able to split that up between a few cores, whether it be Weehaw, even the LC with the overwhelming odds, and of course the Apsor on the Sand King can look to find his Blink Dagger as well. But meanwhile, Padrino doing very well, 20-5 to the 23-8 of his laning equivalent in Matrice, so hasn't been able to be zoned out by Innocent at all. Innocent's found quite a bit though, almost amassing on level 4 here, 2 levels in Anchor Smash Hockey, sitting at a little bit over level 4, so the Legion Commander, as we mentioned, with the lack of lockdown, has been able to have a little bit more lane presence than has Innocent into this Soul Ring spawn Spiderling spam.
Of course, Tidehunter level 6 is going to be a lot more explosive for the Denial side, however. Legion Commander is fine with duel, but you generally need a lot of things to go right if you want to get a dual kill right off of level 6 with the Legion Commander off lane. So it is going to be a little bit more of a slow start from BBC, but I think that's perfectly reasonable. Wee is going to start clearing out some of these neutrals, and he is going to get quite a few levels off of that. Level 6 already on the Meepo, is out-leveling the puck, albeit barely. Wee is going to probably clear off the second one as well. I don't know, this is a steep investment into the Meepo. Of course, it is worth it to have a Meepo that is very high leveled, but this is hurting the Sand King, as he's usually the one to clear off this, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4 stack of creeps. Like, that's a lot of gold there. That's, you know, half of a Blink Dagger.
Yeah, definitely so, and it's a lot of levels as well, and we all, as we know, level 1 Burrow Strike very underwhelming in terms of its range, so getting the second level up on that is pretty good. But we'll see a smoke rotation around towards Weehaw in the mid lane from Creo J and fucking mad. They're actually going to rotate up to the high ground and look to position better behind him, as he does have a defensive Meepo at the ready for a poof, but they're going to find the Sand King and a huge stack here. And Hockey is to the left, however. They're going to throw out the Hadouken from the creeps, and the disruption is there. He will drop to the cold feet proc as Paris rotates in with an orb as well. Hockey rotating around the north. Isn't going to be quite here yet. Earthbind going to go out onto Creo J. Poof is going to finish him off with the help of Solitude. So thus far, 1 for 1, and they do save their stack, which is a damn big deal for BBC's economy. But it looks like it will, perhaps they will give it back over to Yapzor for the time being. He will rotate back in with the Sandstorm. Hockey not going to look to clean that up, and Weehaw going to rotate back into lane as Padrino is one-on-one against Innocent. Will put a little bit of harass into him, but it's going to catch an Anchor Smash in the face. All the meanwhile, Matrice free farming bottom.
That was actually a 0 for 1. Sand King got killed off by the neutrals, and that is pretty much the best case scenario for BBC. Not giving anything over to the enemy side when your Sand King is more or less screwed. Unfortunately, he's still pretty screwed, because the Sentry Ward is going to mean that Sand King cannot Sandstorm, or else the neutrals will just kick his ass. It's going to mean that Wee has a pretty clear course of action. He's going to be the one to take gold, because Sand King simply can't. So Denial end up giving a free kill over to BBC, and it is, the Meepo to take it, so probably less than ideal, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles if you're going to be going that deep. It's always risky, and speaking of risky, up towards top lane, Innocent is going to be aggressed upon slightly. He has 2 points of Kraken Shell and a Stout Shield, though. Padrino has a nice buffer right now with Spiderlings, but they aren't actually doing any damage. He also has to worry about the Ancient Apparition rotating in. Innocent, though, out of mana, so there is no turnaround potential here. Padrino is forcing the Tidehunter out of lane, and this is getting to a point where Denial might need more than just one hero up here in order to safely deal with the Broodmother and save their towers in the process.
Yeah, certainly something we mentioned in the draft. Having to commit to this lane always is pretty frustrating, and it does hamper your ability to farm across the map. And as we speak, they bring down the tier 1, so Innocent going to be further zoned out of lane. We will see Paris fill up his bottle here, and we will see a regen go to Creo J, but he was already maxed out, it seems, in the bot lane. But they will be able to have a little bit of kill potential, perhaps, on Hockey if they rotate in Paris. But he looks content to farm mid lane. 1,200 gold on this puck at this point. 46 CS to the 40 of Weehaw, so not a huge advantage for him. Also 1,500 gold on Weehaw from those neutrals, the CS being a little bit more valuable in the larger creeps, and will be well on his way to his Blink Dagger or Ags. We'll see what he looks to build first.
Well, Padrino is also making some good value off of the Tidehunter's work. He's not really able to push this tier 2 as effectively, given Tidehunter now has a full mana pool, so Padrino is going to always be making those fighters. He has a Soul Ring, that's what he's going to be doing. but he's also going to be skipping over to the Ancients and trying to clear those out. Unfortunately, there is a dragon spawn, so the minor amounts of splash damage making it somewhat inconvenient for Padrino to effectively clear those out, but you know what, every single neutral he takes is gold out of the pocket of Denial and into the pocket of the Broodmother. And Padrino is going to be able to do this for free for a large portion of the game, or he's going to find fucking Mad. That's also good. This Ancient Apparition, only level 4. Is there incapacitating bite? There isn't, but doesn't even matter. Fucking Mad is pretty much already dead. Spiderlings stacked up, so it's hard to know how much damage they're going to be doing, but I can guarantee that it's going to be a lot, especially if you're only a level 4 support hero.
Yeah, very low base HP pool on the level 4 Ancient Apparition, and that Spawn Spiderlings did about, I'd say, 2/3 of his health with that 300 damage nuke and just a couple right clicks. Easy kill for Padrino. Meanwhile, Hockey has retreated to the jungle on the LCs. They have left Matrice free farming 66 CS on the PA. He's got a Perseverance, PMS, and his Phase Boot, so it is a decent way towards that Battle Fury. Probably will come out sometime around 14 to 15 minutes and will be a good timing for the PA, but we'll see if they'll be able to put that to use, as they may have lost their entire offlane worth of towers when that comes around. Either way, DD Rune is top. Yapsor farming the jungle, 1500 gold on the Sand King. Paris will fill his bottle once again with the Bounty Rune, and Hockey going to pick up the DD.
And well, that's worry about bottom lane, BBC. They're going to ship the Legion Commander back down there, but there is an additional puck over here, and he's very close to his Blink Dagger. So Paris right now, he's not in any substantial danger of dying right now, but if he does, then he's going to be really upset with his situation. This tower push is going to be extremely slow. Denial don't really have any real pushing heroes, and in the meantime, Wee is in the middle lane. Padrino is still up towards top, so this trade for Denial might work out, or it might actually happen, but it's going to be extremely slow. Innocent, he's going to look to go for Wee over in the mid lane. Ravage is there, but he gets silenced immediately. I think that was not cancelled, the Ravage. He just got silenced, so he couldn't cast it. So no Ravage there for Innocent. And a coil also being used. That's not the play. Padrino is going to charge forward for Paris, and this puck, though evasive as he may be, is not evasive enough. The Spiderlings are going to continue to give chase, and here comes Wee from the background. The net is going to be dodged, first of all. He's going to poof one in. Ravage is going to cancel the secondary poof. Now Wee in a lot of trouble as Orb flies through. Wee will be brought down. Padrino also can't move anywhere. He's stuck in the trees. Web not working out for him, and he will be brought down as well. BBC deciding to dive a tier 1 tower to go for a puck with a Tidehunter giving chase right behind them. That's not a good idea.
Yeah, and it does give over the Blink Dagger as well to Paris, so Saksha looking very good on this puck after surviving that engagement. And yeah, we positioning a little bit too aggressively there, getting hit by the Ravage as well as Padrino in that precarious position, as you mentioned. And not only is it a 2-0 in the mid lane, but it's the 2 cores, most valuable cores at that for BBC, so big win. Meanwhile, bot lane, Hockey, the 3rd core is going to be brought down to the combo of Patrice and fucking Mad, and as we mentioned earlier, and that Chilling Touch plus a Phantom Strike, pretty potent this early on in the game.
When Phantom Strike is maxed out, there's really no chance you can get away as Legion Commander. Press the attack only level 1, so the heal isn't even going to be that severe. It's gold that you're giving away to the Phantom Assassin, and that is never something you want to be doing, especially when the rest of your heroes are doing okay, but not really fantastically. Phantom Assassin, Puck leading the way, and Meepo Broodmother not too far behind, but definitely not really where they want to be at this stage in the game, as the tier 2 tower on top lane took a little bit of damage, but for the most part is still up. Fortunately for BBC, they're going to jack the rest of the Ancients, so nice little win there, and they actually might catch Innocent in the process. Yes, they will. Tidehunter with level 4 Anchor Smash, going to get a little bit of space, but actually Wee's going to bail out of here, because here comes the puck, landing a coil. Wee is dropping very low right now. He's going to try to man fight the puck, and he will poof, but it won't be quite enough. He will get out, escape. Oh, one more hit, though. He will not make it out alive, and Cryo and Paris still going to be around. Cryo is going to get dueled up, will be brought down. Here comes Patrice, looking to go for Padrino, who's going to try to go over the cliff, but he's spotted out perfectly. There's a sentry ward right over him, and that's going to be his death. Yapsor from the low ground, channeling his epicenter. No mana for Burrow Strike, and he will mostly miss on the Phantom Assassin because she Blink Strikes over to the north. Still being chased down by a whole bunch of Spiderlings. At the overwhelming odds, Burrow Strike will kill off the PA, making it a 3-for-3 overall, but I mean, that's not exactly what BBC want to be doing right now, because that was no Ravage used. Do you expect that type of trade with Ravage? Maybe if you're BBC, that'll be okay, but
yeah,
so not really in these types of games. This is not ideal for BBC.
Yeah, Ravage is up in 8 seconds now as well, and a slight experience in Gold Swing going the way of BBC, but as you mentioned, Weehaw going down very early, so he wasn't there for the benefit of most of that. Padrino as well. They were able to pick off the last couple with the Sand King, as well as the LC. So not exactly the heroes you want to be the only one standing when those trades do come your way. Either way, a little bit unfortunate. Ice Blast going to fly up to the jungle, clean up a lot of spiderlings there. So nice little gold influx for fucking Mad. And he's now picked up his level 6 with that Ice Blast. That's going to be putting a wrench into the plans of BBC, especially Weehaw looking for some ganks. He has opted for the first item Ags, which is pretty common, and he will be around 1300 gold away from that at this point. But Padrino in the top lane isn't going to have the greatest time versus Innocent, and as you mentioned, shouldn't have too much potential to push down this tier 2 without a concerted effort from Denial to defend.
I think BBC, they get a little bit of damage from Legion Commander. They show off the Blink Dagger on Sand King, which is pretty much as it should be. Like, the timing is more or less right, but considering the fact that he was messed with so much in his jungle, considering the fact that we took most of his stacks, that's actually pretty impressive that the Sand King has the Blink Dagger right now. So he's going to have that, and he might have to use it over towards mid because we is going to get jumped. Demonic Purge, is there a poof out? No, you can't poof out when you're silenced. We is durable enough to take most of this. He's going to poof some Meepos in, however. Look to turn things around. That won't happen. Yapzor's with the Blink Burrow Strike. Does he want to dive Cryo? Probably not. That's going to be no kills happening over in the mid lane, but in the meantime, bottom lane, Legion Commander gets obliterated by Matrice. Battle Fury Phantom Assassin versus the level 9 Legion Commander. There's not much that you could do as LC except for just not be in the lane.
Yeah, fresh 14-minute Battle Fury up for Matrice. They're doing very well. Left unchecked for most of the early game on that Phantom Assassin. Already has 100 CS. 15 minutes into the game. 7,500 net worth. Tops the chart by quite a bit. 2k ahead of Padrino's Broodmother. And that's something they certainly need to deal with for the side of BBC. With Weehaw farming as poorly as he is, you really expect him to have the experience lead at this point, if not the gold lead. And in terms of hero levels, he's 3rd overall underneath both Paris's Puck and Matrice's PA.
And there is an opening on paper for Meepo to do a lot of damage to the Denial side before the Battle Fury comes up with Matrice, but since that is up with level 2 crit to boot, the Meepo is going to get a lot weaker, a lot faster than he really should be right now. And Padrino is going to walk right into a Ravage Disruption onto the Tidehunter. That was pretty interesting. Padrino is going to die anyway. The bubble was throwing out those spikes. I've never seen that before, but it's going to be an even trade actually, as the Ancient Apparition gets jumped in the mid lane. I assume that was just a Blink, Burrow Strike, Mystic Flare, and it looks like, yeah, that was about it. And no, that was actually a Blink dual Mystic Flare. Even better. More damage for Hockey.
Yeah, so Hockey picks up his 2nd dual win. That's a level 1 dual once again. He hasn't quite hit level 11 yet, so 20 damage to supplement his base damage there. And that's pretty nice for them, but still, losing Padrino and him not being the early mid-game force that he generally is on this hero is a big loss for BBC, and he only continues to fall off hereafter, so going to be hard-pressed to be influential later on in this game on the Broodmother. He will TP to the bot lane and join Hockey here, and perhaps they look to push down this tier 1, which is still fairly healthy for the Radiant side in the bot lane.
Oh my god, Aghanim's now up on Wii. That's one of the pieces of the puzzle. If you're the Meepo, you want to get your Blink Dagger next, and that should be the build for this Meepo, though. I mean, I always underestimate the power of a late game Meepo. Sometimes he does extremely well, but up against Phantom Assassin and a Tidehunter, I'm not too sure if that's a possibility. Bot lane, Paris being pursued out. They have pretty perfect vision on this Puck right now. There are 4 heroes in the area. He's going to get himself out of there safe and sound, but this bottom lane tower now is in a lot of trouble, and it's probably just going to be forfeited by the Denial side. Ice Blast is going to spot everyone, actually, so they know exactly Denial what they're going to be up against, but I don't know if they want to defend this. It seems like they're thinking about it. They do have
TPs. Yeah, they have 5 TPs. Paris, of course, used his, so that's on cooldown, so they could defend. They do have a glyph as well. It doesn't look like BBC's committing too much to it either. They do have this dire Observer ward here deep in the jungle, so they can see the rotations of both Paris and fucking Mad at this point, and as well, they will see Creo J join the picture fairly soon. Padrino spotted out, though. The coil is going to miss, and he will bait that out. So perhaps with the Ravage down as well, they look for an engagement here. Hockey walking up the high ground. He's going to blink forward. He'll get the duel onto Creo J. Mystic Flare is there to follow. They'll bring down the Shadow Demon early. Concussive Shock going to fly out onto Seb as well. Ice Blast is not going to come out. It does actually come out, and will glance through 3 heroes, but not on impact, as fucking Mad goes down, and that's 2 supports down quickly. Jump forward though, Anchor Smash. There's the blink forward as well. Nice Sandstorm by Yapzor, but he will end up going down despite getting off a Burrow Strike. Stifling Dagger out onto Padrino. They're going to dust him up as well. Phantom Strike forward. 1 crits there. He's going to pop the ultimate here. He's going to man up. Ravage on 2 though, just came up. There's the Illusory Orb as well. Jump back in from Matrice, and they'll pick off the LC. Meepo going to come in though. He's going to clean things up with a few poofs. And that's a triple kill for Weehaw there, coming in and cleaning house. And that's exactly the hero you want to do it for on the side of BBC. Take a look at the fight recap there. That's 1100 experience for Weehaw's Meepo.
Pedrinho just would not die. That was insane. He was living for so long. He was stuck in the corner. I thought he was just going to be dead, but a blink in from the Legion Commander giving the Broodmother a level 3 press the attack, so you get that insane HP regen. Broodmother popped the hunger, just went to town and was desperately trying to survive, though she did go down in the end. But so much time for Wee to come in like freaking Superman and clean up everybody else. Now he's packing the Blink Dagger, Aghanim Scepter. Wee is going to be able to do that for the team along with Hockey. Solitude is going to run Fucking Mad. Blink Epicenter is going to mostly miss because of a disruption. Fucking Mad, though, still might be going down here, and it looks like he will. Not as explosive, but you know what? A kill's a kill. And that is also buying time for Meepo to clear up Roshan. Solitude is going to be chased down with a couple stacks of Shadow Poison, but he will be fine unless one more lands. That might be lethal. It's not going to land, so he should be fine right now. Yeah, that extra stack, if it hit him, he would have died, but that's a close call for sure. Either way, it's a nice, clean kill and back off from BBC. And, well, this Meepo is now going to hit full Meepo status. And Wee's Meepo, there are stories about it, there are legends, and we'll see if it is actually going to be successful this game, because again, he does have to worry about quite a few things on the other end.
Yeah, but he does skyrocket up the net worth chart as well as the experience. You see the spike in the graph back to equilibrium in terms of net worth. Now a 2,000 experience lead for BBC, and you definitely wanted to surpass an experience lead if you're on the side of BBC with a Meepo. Much like a Naga Siren or an Alchemist wants to be ahead in gold, Meepo certainly wants to be ahead in experience. And with a GG rune, he's going to pick off that tier 1 in the safe lane for Denial. And now 9,900 net worth, just barely below Matrice's at 10,000 net worth, so really has mitigated any advantage that the PA had. And we will see TPs to the top lane from Hockey as well as Weehaw here, so they are looking to mount a defense if Denial gets a little too over aggressive here. Hockey positioning himself underneath the trees. He'll press the attack, blink forward. The duel is there with a bunch of poofs. They'll bring down the puck early on, and that's a huge hero to take out. Ravage is down here. Mystic Flare's going to go out with the Earthbind. Catches mostly onto Innocent's Tidehunter. He's going to drop really low. Burrow Strike is there to get fucking mad. They're going to disrupt up the Tidehunter, but he should drop fairly soon. And he's actually going to be able to blink out, but they will pick off Creo J. He will be the sacrificial lamb for the Tide, and certainly a valiant play by Creo, but nonetheless 4-0 in the top lane, unless the Shadow Poison picks off Solitude, which it should not at this point. Only 2 stacks, and he barely survives with the magic stick there.
All the while, Pedrinho is just farming down in the bottom lane. That initiation with the Legion Commander Meepo, that is pretty much textbook, and unfortunately for the Phantom Assassin, she does have her BKB. It was in base on the courier or something. She didn't have it available, so she couldn't just face the poofs head on and actually come out ahead. Because if she was able to do that, if she had the magic immunity, I'm pretty sure that would have gone as good as it had gone for the BBC side. They would have, at the very least, lost the Scarith Mage, probably 1, maybe even 2 other heroes in addition. So it's a nice timing for BBC to do that, and a really poor timing for Denial to do that. They lose the tier 2 tower in the bottom lane as well, and Meepo is just getting further and further ahead. Speaking of, he's going to go for mid lane. Fucking Mad has no hope here. He's going to throw all his skills because he might as well, but he's actually going to get some cold beat value. That means Innocent and Matrice are both going to follow up. Ravage only that's 1 Meepo. Also hitting Pedrinho on the side, but this Meepo just isn't dying. There's no crits from Matrice, and that's a simple poof out, and Wee's going to poof right back in with the rest of his Meepos. Going to go for this Phantom Assassin. Now has the magic immunity. Pedrinho's here, but Wee's dropping very low. He will poof out with the low Meepo, and still fighting to the death, though Battle Gear is doing so much work right now. Wee going to try to back off. Coil is going to kill him off, but that will be only the Aegis. Here comes the Epicenter. Will kill off the Phantom Assassin. Now they're looking for more. It looks like everyone else from Denial. It's up on the high ground where Cryo is going to get dueled up and brought down by Hockey. Wee's back in because the Aegis trying to go for the puck, throwing out nets. He will land a net from the low ground. That net did not look like it was going to hit, but it hit anyway, and that is going to be a whole boatload of kills going the way of BBC. Wow. So much so, in fact, that Denial are going to tap out.
Yeah, and it was said in chat, but Denial not heeding the words of the Dota 2 community. They won't ban out Weehaw's Meepo, and despite a pretty shaky start for him, he'll recover extremely nicely and totally close the gap that Patrice had widened on that free farming PA from him. And easy game, easy life for BBC. They'll take them down in 23 minutes in game 1, despite having a pretty shaky early game, to say the least. And either way, BBC taking the first of a best of 3 here. Mike, any last thoughts on what Denial can do in this next game to recover and take it to a deciding game 3?
Ban Meepo. They played as good as they probably could have against the Meepo, and it just didn't work out. It's either you ban him or you just pick 5 heroes that are anti-Meepo. that's probably not a good thing.
Yeah, and they drafted decently well against him, well enough as they could have to still have synergy between their heroes. But either way, yeah, that last Ravage from Innocent, a little bit underwhelming, and some beautiful micro from Weehaw, getting out his low meeples, bringing back in the high ones there, and still having the Aegis. Really nice engagement for them, and just too much of an advantage at that point for Denial to overcome. So GG was called. Game 2 on the way, guys, very shortly. Thanks for joining us. This is HeflaTV. We'll be back in a moment.